Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an incredible scientific detective story. We're going to be digging into the evolution of one of our most critical cognitive skills. And trust me, it's a story that completely rewrites what we thought we knew about the human brain and our ancient relatives. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start with a really basic question. Just think about it for a second. Right now, you're being bombarded with information, sights, and sounds from all over. So what is it? What's that magic switch in your brain that takes all that raw data and turns it into a meaningful experience?
The answer, of course, is attention. You can think of it as this neurological bottleneck that really controls almost everything we think and do. It's kind of like the conductor of your mental orchestra, telling some instruments to play louder and others to just stay in the background.
And we can see the power of attention all through the archaeological record. I mean, it's the force that lets us focus our minds to do these incredibly complex things, right? Like napping a perfect stone tool or tracking an animal with a bow and arrow. But, and this is key, it also lets us turn that focus inward to imagine how we could do all those things even better next time. So that brings us to this huge ancient cognitive mystery. We know we, Homo sapiens, have this amazing ability. But what about our long-lost relatives, the Neanderthals and the Denisovans? How did all of our brains develop this superpower after we split off from our common ancestor? Well, for a long, long time, the main theory, it's called attention network theory, pointed to all the usual suspects. The idea was that our fancy attention skills came from these highly evolved, specialized zones in the outer layer of the brain, the cortex. And for a while, that seemed like a pretty solid explanation. But to really get to the bottom of this, archaeologist Dr. Marlies Lombard used this absolutely brilliant investigative technique. She came up with something called a neuro-genetic triangulation approach, basically combining clues from 3 different fields to hunt down the specific genes responsible for our attention. And this is how that detective strategy worked. It's so clever. Step 1, find every single gene that's linked to attention in us today. Step 2, see which of those genes are actually different in us compared to our ancient relatives. And then, the final step, zoom in on only the genes that are super specialized for the brain. It's a fantastic way to filter out all the noise and find the real culprits. And guess what? This whole investigation really paid off. The search was narrowed down from thousands and thousands of possibilities to just 18 high-impact genes. These 18 genes, which are unique to modern humans, just might hold the secret to how our specific attentional abilities came to be. But here is where the story takes a massive turn. When the researchers actually mapped out where in the brain these 18 key genes were doing most of their work, it wasn't where the old theory predicted at all. Nope. Not in those advanced cortical areas. This was the big twist, a genuine scientific shocker that really challenged decades of thinking. The genetic action, the hotspots, they weren't happening on the brain's surface. They were happening deep, deep down in its most ancient, fundamental structures. Instead, all the evidence pointed to what you might call the brain's subcortical engine room. We're talking about these older, deeper structures, like the brainstem and the thalamus, that work as the brain's central processing hubs, its main information relay stations. And, crucially, the clues also pointed to white matter, which is the brain's internal communications grid. So, what on earth does this all mean? Well, it completely reframes the entire story of how our attention superpower evolved. It basically suggests we've been looking in the wrong place this whole time. And this table just lays out the shift in thinking perfectly. See, the old theory was that evolution gave us shiny new, more powerful processing centers in our cortex. But this new hypothesis, it suggests something way different. The basic centers were already there. The real upgrade was in the wiring between them all, making the whole network faster, stronger, and way more efficient. It wasn't about building a new computer, it was about upgrading the motherboard. And it looks like the key player in this whole upgrade was white matter. You can think of it as the brain's fiber optic network. It's this massive, sprawling system of connections that lets all the different parts of the brain talk to each other at incredible speeds. And as it turns out, we have a ton of it. Yeah, this chart really puts it all into perspective. In a tiny pygmy marmoset, white matter is maybe 9% of its brain. But in modern humans, it's about 35%. That shows a gigantic evolutionary investment in brain connectivity, in making sure all the different parts of our brain can work together as a seamless team. So, to put it all together,
The basic machinery for attention was probably already there in the common ancestor we share with Neanderthals and Denisovans. The big change in the Homo sapiens lineage wasn't the creation of totally new parts, but a massive upgrade to the speed and efficiency of the entire system.
So what does all this mean for our ancient cousins? Well, it suggests this wasn't about one species being smarter or better than another. Not at all. It just means their cognitive toolkits probably evolved in different directions, maybe prioritizing different kinds of connections and different styles of paying attention.
And this quote from the study just nails it. We all had the capacity for attention. We all started with the same basic parts. The differences were in the tuning, just subtle variations in the speed, the strength, and the efficiency of our neural networks.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. If our attentional systems were all tuned just a little bit differently, how might those small evolutionary tweaks in our brain's wiring have helped shape the completely unique technological, social, and ultimately historical paths that each of our species took? It's a question that just goes to show how much is left to discover in the archaeology of the mind.